Hello and welcome to Hello Health. I am your host, Karen Kwan Wass, and I am so excited to be with you tonight. It's been a while since we've been able to connect. We took the summer off just because of life, and summer I try to drink up as much of the warmth as I possibly can before it leaves. It's so short here in Rhode Island, so anyway, it's been hard to get back in front of the camera, but here I am, and I'm so glad that you're tuning in tonight. So you may have noticed I am minus Gwen here as my co-host, but we've done a little bit of restructuring. So I will be hosting the shows, and Gwen has her own special healthy tips segment that we pre-record. So she is popping up here later in the episode. Each week, we're going to try to have a special guest to talk about some aspect of health. And in this show, Hello Health, we're looking at health through a functional medicine lens, like a functional medicine perspective, which is taking into consideration all parts of health. So not just nutrition, but in fitness, but also spirituality, mental health, sleep, relaxation, all of these things that are part of the functional medicine matrix that complete us and make us a whole healthy person. So we're going to try to hit every angle in there and give as much information and educate as much as we possibly can. That's the purpose of this show, and to have a little bit of fun in the mix. So for the next several weeks, I'm going to be talking in the beginning of the show a little bit about character strengths. And part of my functional medicine training was there was a big focus on this because, like I said, the matrix covers all aspects of health. So we did study the nutritional stuff through the functional medicine lens, but also learned a lot about positive psychology. And so one of the things that we really focused on were character strengths. And I'm going to give you a website here that you can check out. It's the VIA survey. And you can go on there and take a little quiz and find out what your signature strengths are. And you can read about it. There's all this stuff that went into how the scientists put together these 24 character strengths. And when you take the survey, it's about 10, 15 minutes long. It will compile what your strengths are in order of like what highest and lowest. We all have these strengths. And so there's some that come a little bit more of a challenge for us. And those are at the bottom. But we have these top 5 signature strengths. And by studying the strengths and understanding them, we can improve our relationships with others by seeing the strengths in the people we love or the people that we work with, but also seeing the strengths within ourselves and being able to strengthen those that are a little bit weaker. And one of these shows, I'll share mine with you. Not tonight, but it is interesting to kind of learn a little bit about yourself and kind of learn about your loved ones and family members and how you communicate. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. Like I said, there are 24 strengths. I'm going to be referencing this book, Character Strengths Matter, which is an excellent book to read along with taking this survey. And it also talks about how you can strengthen the strengths. You can do some exercises to make the weaker, I hate to say that, but the lower strengths a little bit stronger. And so the first one is appreciation for beauty. And I know several people in my life that this is one of their top 5, and it's really cool. It's about kind of appreciating the beauty around us, not just the sunset and the clouds and waterfalls and those types of things, but also being able to appreciate the beauty of positive human behavior, about the way it affects you and how it improves your life. So it is a broad spectrum. And in this book, like I said, it gives you these exercises. So a couple that he recommends in this book is to notice at least one instance of natural beauty around you every day. So like a sunrise or the clouds or snowfall, or even fruits, vegetables, your plate in front of you, whatever it is. And to take a mental picture of that so that when you're having a not so great day, things aren't so pleasant, you can bring back that picture in your mind, and it helps you to be more grateful. To also notice weekly how the goodness of other people affects your life and appreciate the beauty of positive human behavior. This is really great because I feel like, especially on Facebook, social media and things, we tend to be inundated with like all this negativity. But when you're out and about and you're really interacting with people, just notice the beauty in people. And there really is, there's human kindness out there, and just make it a little experiment for yourself to see how much of that you can experience and how it affects you. And to notice and admire excellence of someone's character strengths. And so this will go along as you learn more about the strengths, and to appreciate them as a whole person with their unique aspects. So I have some artist friends that I just totally appreciate, because it's like, how can you just create this from nothing? Like, just beautiful work. So just being able to appreciate the differences in all of us. We're all very different people. We're like snowflakes, right? The second one I'm going to talk about today is bravery. And of course, this is, I think it kind of speaks for itself, but it's about being able to do what needs to be done without fear. We know the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz wanted bravery, right? But he showed that bravery. We have it within us. And some of us, myself included, it's a little bit lower on the list. So a couple actions to take to build up bravery is to speak up or write about an unpopular idea in a group. So if you feel passionately about something, but you tend to keep quiet about it, maybe take a minute and say, hey, I don't agree with this, and this is why. Ask difficult questions to help you and others face reality. It's interesting. And this is a really good one. I like: identify an area in which you generally shy away from confrontations. I definitely shy away from confrontations. Practice the phrases, the tones, and the mannerisms that will enable you to effectively confront the situation next time. So playing that through in your head of like, how could I have been stronger or more brave in that situation, spoken up for myself, or felt stronger? So just a couple tips from this really great book, and we'll come back with some more strengths next week. So this week, I got to sit down with someone super cool I met a long time ago through family, Jessica Zambri, and she talked to me about intuitive voicing, which was so interesting to learn about. And I am so excited to share this broadcast with you tonight. So let's check it out. And I just have to apologize in advance. My editing skills aren't super great with this new technology. So bear with me as we go along with our shows. I promise I'll get better as I learn more. So enjoy the show tonight. I'll see you at the end. I'd love to introduce our guest today, Jessica Zambri, and I am so excited that she has agreed to be with us today. She is a musician, songwriter, and meditation teacher in New York, and she has so much to teach us today about mindfulness meditation and intuitive voicing. So let's bring her on. Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this is so exciting. And we knew each other through my brother and sister-in-law. We met for their wedding, and who knew years later we would have so much in common and so much to talk about here about health and wellness. Awesome. It's just so funny how life works out. So tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to mindfulness coaching. Mindfulness meditation.
Sure. Well, so I started practicing yoga in 2009, and so that's kind of when I was introduced to mindfulness and some forms of meditation, mostly through movement practice. And then shortly thereafter, I kind of started to study a little bit more along the insight meditation pathway. And so this was a real turning point. I started to deepen my practice, and that led me into training, and I've trained in meditation-based stress reduction. And yeah, in the past couple of years, my background as a musician, I've been, using music as a resource and professionally for 20 plus years. So at some point they started to do this like fusing and naturally. And then over the pandemic, moving into a more virtual space, I found that I was starting to really connect with people using both mindfulness and music as a way to not only connect to myself, but yeah, with others, even over virtual spaces.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
we talked a little bit before the show about how the pandemic really kind of brought this about within yourself, maybe a calling, but also there's so many, I feel like there's so many people that realize that they need this type of healing, this alternative type of healing.
Mm.
What type of people have you had a lot of people that have had a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety because of the pandemic and
Yes,
being at
certainly.
home?
Certainly. Certainly the pandemic has brought quite a bit of activity up, whether that's feelings of stress or just shifts in life, life events happening as a result. So there's a lot here that's sort of been kicked up, and certainly
Yeah.
over the past couple of years too, in the United States specifically. I could just speak. That's where I'm based in New York, as you said. Just also witnessing the racial awakening in this country, and just kind of this is where I really, like the work that I explore with folks is not about ignoring the social context. So yeah, we're bringing this in. We're investigating it for ourselves, and also just seeing how this relates to one another, because of course we affect each other. So it's been really, yeah, a resource to be able to connect with people in this way.
Yeah, that's really cool that we're able to do this across the distances too, across the
Mm-hmm.
country, across the world, which is
Yes,
really
absolutely.
exciting. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
there's some silver lining that's come out of this, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of connection in
Mm-hmm.
a disconnected time, so to
Yeah,
speak.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So your sessions, let's talk about a little bit about the intuitive voicing, because this I think is really neat. Is this something that you've created on your own?
So yes, it's a method, I'll say, that I've created, and I want to say that it's using sound is nothing new. This is we were talking a little bit about this before we jumped on for the show here, that there's such ancient wisdom in and knowing that sound is so healing, and so I'm not coming up with that, but what I am doing is designing sort of a method, and I've given it a name, and it's called intuitive voicing. And this is just it almost gives like a territory, so that when folks come into practice, they can kind of know, oh, I can expect this format. And what it is that it's an interactive experience. So we drop in and we kind of have a brief dialogue about what's present, and that's where we activate our mindfulness practice. So we're just kind of acknowledging what's happening as it's happening, maybe sharing a little bit about mindfulness practice or just day to day living. And we're bringing in that discerning, sort of kind awareness to what's here. And then I'll use my voice to create a soundscape, and I'll use my voice to create sound that mirrors basically what was shared, not as an answer, not as a fix to want to change, but simply as just another dimension to be with thoughts, feelings, emotions. And then we sort of end the session or close it by coming in to check out, in a way, just see how it is now, see if there's any shifts in perspective, in feelings, emotions, and just witnessing that.
It's so amazing. What kind of feedback have you gotten from people that have been doing this with you?
Well, I think a lot of the feedback is that sound is super potent. It really like it gets people like I've heard like I can get to like my inner landscape quicker. I could witness or acknowledge what's happening quicker. Um, and I think that versus I suppose to maybe another type of practice that we're trying to become more aware. Sound really has this potential to really dial it up and heighten the awareness. And I often think about if how much music and sound affects me. So if I'm watching a movie and the scene is pretty serious, but the music behind it is kind of light, that affects my perspective or my perception of what's happening. And so we know that music affects us in this way, our moods, our perceptions, our psychology. Science is learning all of this. And so we can use it as a tool or a resource in this way. And my hope is that in this practice of intuitive voicing that folks get to get a little bit more comfortable with sound so that they can start to use it in their own daily lives and tap into their own intuitive voice, which may show up as like humming. It could be singing, but you don't have to have any, musician background. It might even show up as like moving the body. It's basically just connecting to your intuition in the moment. And that will feel and look different every moment that you experience. So we're just giving space to that.
Yeah, that's great. And I have done sound healing in the past with, I've done some training with the tuning forks, as we were talking about earlier. And there is science that shows that sound, music, it hits us on a cellular level.
Yeah.
There are even tones that can hit to heal your DNA. It's just amazing what our body can do and how it responds to stimuli, and knowing what can heal us. These simple things that it's bringing us back, right? It's bringing us back to the basics, getting us away from the technology, but getting back into ourselves. And I think that's a big awakening that's happening right now. That's some of the silver lining with all of this craziness that's happening in the world too. That's really fascinating. So tell us about your sessions. They're online, they're virtual. So do you have people that are not in New York? Do you have people from different parts of the country that are tuning in with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So because at the moment it's virtual space, it really, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where I am. And so I've been able to connect with folks all over, which is really a blessing. And the sessions are really catered to the individual's needs, and sometimes I work with groups too. And so what's needed, and it can be curated to that. So often I'll set 45-minute sessions so that there's enough time to dialogue and then experience the sound meditation, and then also have some more time to dialogue. But this really, it depends. There are some people that do this for a half an hour. And of course, sometimes we do it over a set amount of weeks. I personally love if there's room to set aside weekly sessions so that we can kind of witness the arc of the practice, because certainly there is an arc. But yeah, really, we start with whatever is possible for the person, and we go from there. Again, because so much of it is just about building relationship to ourselves, and we're using sound as that tool to heighten awareness. And a lot of it just begins with like, okay, how do I start noticing the sounds in my day to day, and using those as little bell reminders, like, oh, I'm present, especially in those moments of disbelief or overwhelmed with anxiety. I'm always like, what are my tools when I'm really feeling bogged down? If I'm super anxious, if that moment arises, what actually helps me in those moments? Because I have a lot of practices in my toolkit, and some of them are amazing, but they actually require more space and time. So we really do like to explore using sound for those quick moments. Like, is there access to to hearing sound or even feeling it, because of course folks have access to sound in different ways, and we can feel it as well as vibrational energy.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's cellular. There's
Yeah.
Science is, catching up with all the ancient wisdom,
Right.
which is great because then we can talk about it in different ways
Exactly.
and know what's happening in the
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. Yeah. Have an explanation. I think a lot of people like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of us that are okay with, this made me feel better, and that's enough
Right.
for me. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that are like, well, I'd like to see some hard facts.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're coming
Absolutely.
into an age where, science, they're really taking the time to study it and to give us that information. So yeah, that is amazing. And I'm so excited for you and for what you're doing. I think there needs to be a lot more of this happening in the world, and the awareness of being able to heal ourselves. It's so important. Definitely important.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah. Well, if you want to connect with Jessica, which I definitely recommend doing, she's such a cool person to talk to and has so much wisdom. You can check her out. Her website is jessicazambri.com. And so can people book on your website, or should they call you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can contact me directly on my website, and we can meet for a one-to-one session, really kind of check in, get our chemistry there and see what's going, and go from there. And so feel free to jump on the website there.
Awesome. And people can also do group sessions as well. You mentioned that.
Absolutely. So
Awesome.
Workplace, whatever is needed, I'm open and willing to co-create that for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been very exciting to talk with you and to have you on the show, and good to see you again.
Yes. Thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate your support.
All right. Well, make sure to reach out to Jessica if you have any questions and to book your session.
Hello, and welcome to Hello Health, where I'm going to share just a little bit of ideas around how to sort of boost the healthy nutrition in your food. Today, we're going to talk about Thanksgiving. I live in Canada, so we've already had it here, but it's coming up in America. So we thought we would go over a couple of ideas. I thought about it in sort of entry points and looking at different ways that you could sort of create a healthier meal depending where you're at. And the first place to start is definitely with looking at how you can make everything from scratch. And I know that can be overwhelming. So looking at how you can simplify the meal, a lot of times we're looking at like having these massive spreads with all of these things. But maybe if you are going to simplify it, make everything from scratch, you'll eliminate tons of really unhealthy ingredients. So that means, making the stuffing from scratch, making the gravy from scratch, making mashed potatoes. They can come in a box now. Really trying to look at how you can just make everything at home. And if that feels overwhelming to you, starting the day before and really simplifying and asking, if you're having people over, asking people and letting people know that this year you're going to really experiment with home cooked everything. And then it can be kind of a fun challenge. Who's going to make the best, I don't know, pie? And then I like to take it a little step further than that, and looking at the traditional Thanksgiving meal right now can be really loaded with many different carbohydrates, and it's quite heavy. And when we can start to switch things up a little bit and maybe be a little less focused on those traditional carbohydrates, whether it's the mashed potatoes and the gravy and the sweet potatoes and all the things, which are delicious, But maybe instead of being so focused on that, really trying to increase the amount of plants that you're serving at the meal. So, whether you're doing Brussels sprouts or maybe you're doing just so many beautiful options, and trying to increase that diversity in plants is really going to help your body process and feel better at the end of the meal. You won't feel so heavy and sort of weighed down with all of those carbohydrates. And maybe just prioritizing one really delicious, like maybe beautiful mashed potatoes or the most amazing stuffing, whatever it is for you. And then the other thing that's really cool about Thanksgiving is we generally eat turkey. And turkey, one of the cool ingredients or whatever things that we get out of turkey is tryptophan. And tryptophan supports our body to make serotonin. And serotonin is our sort of feel-good chemical. So knowing that when you're eating turkey, your body's actually creating serotonin, which makes you feel good. And that's another really big part of this meal is if you can somehow manage to keep the stress load fairly low, whether that means that you're having a smaller meal or, only inviting so many people over, whatever that looks like for you, really trying to reduce that stress load so you don't create any inflammation in your body. And then, of course, just really simply just trying to get out for a little bit of movement after that meal. This will be huge if you have something like SIBO. Just allowing your body that extra time to sort of digest and move can be amazing. And then something that I like to do is try a little bit of an extended fast. That just allows your body a little bit more time to digest. And this is really personal. If it works for you, that's great. If it's not right, don't push it. But it can help just move everything through your body, drinking tons of water, tons of liquids to try and balance everything out, making everything at home, really choosing to use pure, real ingredients that you can buy that don't have a list of ingredients because they are what they are, and increasing your plants. And those are like the sort of most beautiful and basic ways that you can make your Thanksgiving meal more delicious and healthy and enjoyable, because you'll feel amazing the next day. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a glorious Thanksgiving. It is my favorite holiday. No gifts, just feeling grateful and wonderful for everything we have.
Sorry, I just realized my mic was muted. All these technical things that we will iron out as the weeks go on. But thank you so much for tuning in. I had a really fun time putting this show together this week. And next week, I have my friend Nathan, who's also a functional medicine health coach. And he is on talking about how to keep your skin healthy, especially in the upcoming colder months that are approaching us here in New England and other parts of the country, and wherever you are, I'm sure, unless you're in sunny California or Hawaii. I'm envious. I hope you all have a wonderful week and have a super happy Thanksgiving if you are here in the States. And I will see you next week, next Sunday night at 7:00 Eastern Time. Until then, be healthy, and I will see you on the flip side.